What is going on, everybody, and welcome back to another video. As the title says, the main topic of conversation today will be Dean Ambrose and his interview on the Talk is Jericho podcast. Now, just before we get into it, I've got the phone recording me on a little mini tripod thing, but my monitor for my desktop is slightly above. So if you notice me looking up, that's what I'm looking at. Anyway, I just want to start off by saying a few things. I haven't seen the full podcast myself, but I know how these things work. I've watched loads and loads of Talk is Jericho podcasts, right? And Jericho don't fuck around. He doesn't have an agenda. You know, by all accounts, Jon/Dean, he seems to be like a nice guy. You know, so I don't think anybody in this has got an agenda against WWE, and that includes me. You know, I'm a lifelong WWE fan, and, you know, again, on the flip side of that, I've got no agenda against AEW. I actually paid for their pay-per-view on Saturday night. It was the first pay-per-view I watched that I've paid outright for, not including the WWE Network, since I want to say WrestleMania 31, maybe even before that. Damn, when was the last one I actually paid full-on money for? Maybe TLC 2014. Like, it weren't that long after the WWE Network came, basically. You know, so for someone that's not used to paying like $15 or $14.95 or whatever it was, like, you know, every month or whatever, you know, it was a decent pay-per-view. I'm not going to sit there and say that it wasn't like having some mistakes or as there weren't some botches involved, because of course there was. It was the debut show. There were kinks to work out. Some of the matches I didn't think were that great. Most of the matches I thought were brilliant. And I just want to start off by saying you can't really compare that to a random episode of Raw. Although, just to briefly touch on it, that episode of Raw was horrendous, boys. Probably didn't need to do that considering you're just there, but yeah, it was absolutely horrendous, man. If that is, and I'm not going to say they fight back to AEW because it's not a war or whatever, but, you know, because for starters, they're not on the same, you know, the shows aren't on the same day. You know, really, it's no different to when TNA came around, apart from AEW seemed to have a bit more goodwill and a bit more money, but regardless of the fact. And Tony Khan seems to be, is it his name Tony Khan? The Fulham FC owner. Fulham are a decent club, by the way, English football. But, yeah, he seems to be a fan. And that's something that was mentioned by Dean/Jon in his Talk is Jericho podcast interview, whatever you want to call it, right? Anyway, you can't compare a weekly Raw show to an AEW debut, fantastically, full of surprises, awesome Kong, Bret fucking Hart. Jesus Christ, and everything like that. So basically, I am on the Square Circle subreddit of Reddit, and this is great, by the way. I visit this all the time. I'm more of a lurker than the poster, but you know, it makes for a good read. So anyway, this was posted. Jon Moxley, Dean Ambrose, Talk is Jericho highlights, right? And these are the highlights. It's got a link to the podcast, I believe. So thank you very much for that. But it's got a link to the podcast, as I said, and it has all the, basically in bullet points, has a few highlights of things that were said. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to go through all of these things, all of these bullet points. I'm going to speak about them. I'm going to go through them, and then I'm going to speak about them and give my thoughts on them. So without further ado, here we go. Dean Ambrose, Talk is Jericho highlights. So first and foremost, he says, there goes the bloody mic. Thank you. That's why we're using the phone. He says he knew he wanted to leave the company in July 2012 when he was out with injury. Now, I don't know if I previously mentioned, but if I'm looking up, that's because my desktop is here and the camera's here. Much higher quality camera, right? Although with my ugly mug, you probably want it back to the low quality camera. Anyway, so he knew he wanted to leave the company in July 2018 when he was out with an injury. Quite simply put, I'm going to liken this to like leaving or wanting to leave like a girlfriend when you know the relationship is not working out, and you know, months before the end, you know it's the end and you know you want out of there. Well, I say, you know, not from experience, but you know, you hear about people wanting to do stuff like that, and you gotta say, I can't blame him, dude, because obviously you're out with injury, like you're gonna be fucking depressed, you're gonna be upset, and like what was it? It was almost a year, like, wasn't it? Like 9 months. Like he injured it in like September 2017 or something. He didn't come back until like August, so it was like 9-10 months. So a huge layoff, but it dives deeper into that as it goes on. So secondly, refused to read a scripted promo, and this is I should say allegedly because I haven't listened to it myself, but you know the guys over at Squared Circle are probably more than trusted. He refused to read a scripted promo because he believed it was idiotic, ridiculous, whilst Vince believed it was great. Now, the first part of that, yeah, you could, this could go two ways. You could put it down to A, different opinions, different things that happen. But this, unlike many of the things that come out of the woodwork, like the stuff about Sasha Banks or the stuff about Neville before he left and all of this other stuff, right? Or even to an extent CM Punk. This is actually in the unique territory of actually somewhat transpiring on TV, like a version of this or some kind of portrayal, be it inwardly or outwardly or somewhat true to itself, came out for all of us to see. So in a way we do have some evidence to judge this on. So refused to read a scripted promo when he believed it was ridiculous, but whilst Vince believed it was great. And I have to say, and I'm doing my best not to spoil the bullet points as I go down, because I just want to be just as surprised as you guys are and react to that, right? But I have to say that most of this is probably talking about those like germaphobe promos or whatever the hell it was, and let's face it, man, that material was awful. Material. If that material was the stuff he's talking about, then dude, hand on head, that is absolutely awful. Right, let's scroll down and see number 3. Right, number 3 talks about promos he read whilst feuding with Seth late early this year, and how they made no sense. Tried to rewrite them and got frustrated when he couldn't. So again, this is entirely believable, just because the promos, the majority of them were horrible themselves. It's not good, man. In the opening bloody 3 bullet points, 2 of them were basically like how, either Vince believed the shit promos were good promos, and when Jon/Dean thought he could come up with better promos, which, let's be honest, he probably could have done, he wasn't allowed to. So that would get you frustrated and make you really bloody pissed off. So I can't bloody, blame him for that. So let's see the 4th bullet point. He talked about enjoying the Make-A-Wish stuff and how he became an adult in WWE. You know what? It's good to finally read a good bullet point. The Make-A-Wish stuff is obviously great. All the stuff that superstars do, and that's fantastic. There's not much more to say about that. I mean, who wouldn't have enjoyed fulfilling wishes for those wonderful children? So that's fantastic. So let's see. The next bullet point says he thought cutting. Oh wow! Says he thought cutting the promo about Roman's illness, the cancer illness, was disrespectful. I think we can all agree that you can probably get away with a heel turn on the night and have even Michael Cole yelling on this night of all nights, by God. But when you actually I think we all felt a bit uncomfortable during that time. So I'd definitely agree with that. Says he felt like walking out on Raw where he got shots vaccinated during the promo. That was the day he 100% knew he was leaving and not coming back. Oh wow. So yeah, man, I think what we can really put together from all of these different things that have gone on, right, at some point or another, and it's sad, right, because these superstars that leave, the likes of CM Punk, the likes of Neville, now Jon/Dean Ambrose, whatever you want to call him. I'm just going to call him probably Dean from now on, right? But most of these superstars have gripes that aren't just the one gripe. They add up over time. Obviously, CM Punk was frustrated for a long while before he actually left there. He was pissed off. He was unhappy. Neville was pissed off and unhappy. And it's not like they don't give the company a chance to turn this around. And dude, I remember that promo well because actually Shamus was here at the time. And I remember turning to him and saying, oh, he might have been on the phone. But either way, I remember turning to him and saying, what is this? Like, imagine trying to explain that to your friend. Oh, watch this. Like, and this is what happens. But anyway, no wonder he fucking knew then he weren't coming back. So, allegedly, the next one. Vince tried to talk him into saying another cancer remark about Roman. Says it was so bad they could have lost sponsors. Refused to say it. Oh my God. So, wow, imagine the stuff he said already. That was pretty bad. If he says pretty more, if he says any more, it's pretty not bad, man. Wow. I don't really know what to say about that. Let's just go straight on to the next one. Says he was excited to return to wrestling when he was injured, but not excited to return to WWE. And I think there, even though that seems to be one of the most, let me just get the microphone, and it, like, you know, it seems to be the most innocuous, like, you know, not so big comment of all of these, you know, comments / bullet points so far. But I think that one says a lot. It's like, and I'm going to liken it to something that like is a bit ridiculous, right? But it's like me. I love playing PS4 games, right? And I'd be excited to play PS4. But if you put FIFA 19 in front of me, I'm going to dread it, right? LOL. But yeah, I don't know, man. It's like, imagine being excited to like, I don't even know how to bloody word this. It's just as plain as it is. Excited to return to wrestling, but not to WWE. Meaning the atmosphere and environment in WWE must have been that bad that you know, well, that's so weird. It's not weird, it's true, but it's like the morale must be so bad backstage. Okay, so next one. Says if there was no other promotion other than WWE, he still would have left. Wow. Again, that ties into the one from just above. Clearly, there's a morale problem in WWE, man. And I think, like, it gets to a point where some of these guys and girls, they're just like, fuck this. I don't care if you're WWE. I don't care if you're WCW. I don't care if you're ECW. I don't care if you're AEW, TNA. Basically, it's the old saying of, you could have offered me all the money in the world and I still wouldn't have done it or whatever. Or, you know, something along those lines, right? You know, it's just one of those ones, isn't it? And like, it's getting to the point now where, listen, not only are people saying they want to leave for a different company, but, you know, I didn't realise until this interview came out that, excuse me, that people actually felt that much desire to leave the company. Knowing that a performer, a star as big as Dean Ambrose, Jon Moxley, whatever, right? Knowing a star as big as him, and with all due respect to Neville, he is a great wrestler, but in terms of sheer, like, star power, like, I believe this is, like, the first one. And yes, I know you could have CM Punk, but there was, like, loads of mess around that. It was, like, all of, like, the WrestleMania stuff and all of that nonsense, so that was perhaps a different thing, but there's no, like, big, like, creative mess here. There's no Rock and John Cena, you know, part-time match blocking the path or whatever. Not that any of those guys are bad. Personally, I thought both of those matches were quite good. But, yeah, man, to say that he would, like, leave wrestling altogether, essentially, rather than work for WWE, or at least that's what I read into it. Damn, let's scroll down and get some more. Vince didn't know he was unhappy. Wow, Vince didn't know he was unhappy, even with him being open with Vince about his frustrations in the script. So that's crazy, man. So that's like, wow, he didn't even know he was unhappy, even though there was clearly some, you know, something there. So again, is that just Vince, like, not knowing anything? You know, not knowing, or or not dealing with anything. Let's just have another look here to see if there's any more on that. I don't think so. Like, anyway, I don't know what to say about that. Again, like, this is all shocking. This is crazy to me, because how can you have a guy who's been planning to leave since like July 2018, which is, let's face it, pretty much almost a year. And alright, he only came back in August, but that's still a good 6 months. And he was planning to leave from then. How could you? And he's voiced his frustrations in a way. How could you not know? Okay, next one. Let's scroll down. Was happy to take bumps from Nia, but felt like it was them punishing him for leaving. Oh, interesting. It's interesting he felt that way, but given the past history of WWE, it's not hard to see why he felt that way. Wow. Here's an interesting one here, right? The next one. They offered him a new contract. He didn't even look at it. Wow. Imagine being that upset with your position in your place of work. Imagine doing something, and let's try and make it more relatable to your everyday guy, right? Imagine your passion is cooking. I imagine that quite a lot of people like cooking. It's something that pretty much everybody does. Not so much myself, but yeah. So everybody enjoys cooking for the most part, right? So imagine you're a chef at this restaurant, but I don't know, your team / let's just say the management, the customers, whatever, right, are always rude to you. And it got to the point where you were that discouraged with it, you didn't even look at, the offer for a raise or a promotion, because that's what it would have been, for sure. If WWE are offering, like, mid-card, well, traditionally what you would call mid-card superstars, like double their pay, as the rumours have been saying, allegedly, I suppose would be the right turn of phrase or the right word, right? Imagine how much more they would have offered Dean Ambrose, Jon Moxley, to stay. And the fact that he didn't even entertain it, the fact that he didn't even look at it, oh, dude, madness. Absolute madness. Right, more about AEW now. It says his goal in AEW is to be the best version of himself, looking forward to creative freedom. Again, that's pretty much, in with the pattern of this interview, is that freedom, not being stifled anymore, being happier, so to speak. Says Tony Khan is the exact opposite of Vince McMahon, likes him and the fact he's a huge wrestling fan. Well, we all know Vince prefers sports entertainment. I don't really know like what to say other than that. We know Vince doesn't particularly like using the word wrestling. Famously, I think there was once a quote out there. Ted Turner once phoned Vince McMahon up and said, "Hey Vince, I'm in the wrestling business." And he said, "Well, that's cool, Ted. I'm in the sports entertainment business." It's always been that way, even when wrestling was good. Personally, I didn't think it was, but I'm just, using air quotes because some people think it don't, or wasn't. Wow. Talks using social media, now he's out of WWE. Again, we never saw him use his social media when he was in WWE. If there's a reason for that, then who knows? There might have been the interview. I'll have to have a listen to it later properly. Right, and last but not least, he told Seth he's a wild animal, been domesticated for too long, when Seth was upset about him leaving. Okay, so he basically said, "I'm like someone's pet, man. I don't want to be a pet no more. I want to go live in the wild. Like, I'm a wild crocodile, dude. I'm not, a pet crocodile. I want to go out there and be a crocodile." That's not the bit from the interview, by the way, but something along those lines. So he explained it to Seth as being the end of Harry and the Hendersons, where Harry is set free. I don't know about that. Maybe that's an American TV show, but well, there you have it. Those are all the things about, dude. I've got to say that this is mad, dude. Like, absolutely mental. And I think the most genuine emotion I get out of that is that this man was upset. This man was upset with being, bound by the rules of WWE. He was upset by not being allowed to express himself. You know what? I don't want to say it like this because I'm a huge WWE fan, but it seems like it was some kind of prison, or at least that's how it was being explained. Some of these, honestly, if I weren't on video, I would actually be a bit genuinely upset right now because it's sad to read through. This is basically the journey of a man that loved or still loves professional wrestling, and to an extent even loved being in the WWE. I mean, there's a reason why he signed there in the first place, but I don't understand what the hell is going on. This is this is terrible. And those reports of morale being low in WWE a couple of months ago, this is the reason why they're all I mean, I think we all knew that they were to an extent creatively stifled, but wow, this is unbelievable. And I think this just goes to show, and this is the first time we have properly seen a major superstar leave and do a full interview in terms of and I know CM Punk did one, but what I mean is in terms of actually explaining their wrestling related reasons for leaving. And I know CM Punk was, but that was more creative. And I know this is, but what I'm trying to say, I can't really express it, as I'd like to, but you could tell with CM Punk here, you could tell he was just he didn't get what he thought he deserved and what many people thought he would deserved. But with Ambrose, you could tell it weren't about main events or titles or anything like that. And let's get it straight right now. CM Punk fully deserved to main event WrestleMania. It's a shame he didn't. But the point is, good Lord, how upset must this guy have been? So, what do you guys think? Unbelievable. That's the first time I've read through this today, and that is atrocious. The funny thing is, when Nia Jax shoved him or whatever, it would have been, you know what? He would have probably appreciated that more if it actually did lead to a feud with Nia, because at least then it was alright. It's like they were bipolar in a way, and, about, how they wanted to treat him when he was going to leave. Do they want to job him out and punish him to, Nia and EC3? Or do they want to give him the, a few W's here and there and, give him, a massive leaving party like they did with the Shield? It's really weird, isn't it? And imagine how hard it must have been for him to go out there. And basically, the fans are begging him to stay, but then he knows what goes on backstage, and he wants to leave. It really does give you a weird, almost, and I don't like using this word, but a weird, kind of sick look into the mind of, WWE backstage. It's really weird. It makes me sad because it's what is happening? I suppose. To partly retract, when I said sick, I didn't mean fucking crazy or whatever. I meant confused. It's like someone's got the flu and they're fucking, I don't know, walking around all zombified, not knowing what they're doing. And they get the fucking, trying to get the milk out the fridge, and instead they get the fucking, I don't know, cream or the bloody, I don't even know what the fuck I'm saying anymore. The point is that, you fucking go in the fridge to try and get a bottle of milk, and you end up getting the fucking, I don't know, the chili sauce from the night before, whatever. And you're just what? And then, but I don't know, man. It's sad, dude, because this guy was actually probably I'll admit, I never really saw the big deal. He never really it was a person I was overly invested in, but I always appreciated his hard work and everything else he put towards entertaining us all. And You know, it's almost like when he turned up in AEW on Saturday night, you could actually see like the passion, the desire in his eyes. And I'm not going to say, oh, you could see that slipping away in his last months in WWE, but you actually could. I don't want to be cliche, but, you know, he still went out there. He still tried his best. He was in last man standing matches and all that. You know, that's how you do it right, isn't it? You bloody, you know, you go out there, you bust your ass, and when your contract's up, you leave, and that's it. The thing is, the last thing I want to say about this as well, it's weird, right? Because I tweeted out something to this effect the other day. It's going to get to the point soon where people are just going to wait for their contracts to run down, and if they're not happy, they're just going to leave. They are just going to leave. They're going to let their contracts run down without creating a fuss, because now they've seen like one or two guys actually do it. No fuss, no drama, not re-signing, and gone. And that's it. Anyway, guys, I hope you appreciated my thoughts on this. The video was a bit longer than I anticipated or expected. And I'll catch you with another video soon. Probably some old SmackDown vs. Raw. Getting the end of the Becky Lynch Road to WrestleMania video out as well. We've gone blurry. I'm out. Peace.